Welcome to the Dietitian Side Hustle podcast. My name is Katie Dodd. I am a nutrition entrepreneur, but here's the catch. I have a full-time traditional dietitian job. My entrepreneurial endeavors are my side hustle. I have been making six figures through my job and side hustle, doing things that I love. If I can do it, you can too. This podcast is for dietitians, interns, and students who want to be inspired to start or perfect the side hustle of their dreams. Let's do this. Hey guys, my name is Katie Dodd. Welcome to the first episode of the Dietitian Side Hustle podcast. I'm so grateful that you're taking the time to listen to this podcast and so excited for this opportunity to share all these things in my head that I want to share with you guys. So I want to start off by telling you a little bit about me. So I am a registered dietitian nutritionist. I have been a dietitian since 2008, so that's been 11 years now, and I have a full-time job that I love. I think that I was really lucky that the very first job I ever landed, it turned out to be my dream job. I'd never heard of this work before. I work in home care. So I had never heard of dietitians working in home care, but gosh, I fell in love with my job, and 11 years later, I am in the same job. So love my job. I'm happy being a full-time dietitian in a traditional job, but I have an entrepreneurial spirit. I like to do things on the side. Nutrition is not just my profession, it's my hobby. It's what makes me excited. It's what I love. So I've always had this entrepreneurial spirit. It's come out mostly through volunteering, doing projects, all kinds of things. But starting in 2013, I would say that is when my side hustle journey began. It was after going to Fincy in Texas. I met a dietitian and started eventually what became my first side gig, my first side hustle, where I started receiving income for doing work on the side. And since then, I have been able to do all kinds of really fun side hustles and have been able to successfully make six figures a year through my full-time job and side hustle. So I'm really excited about everything I've learned along the way and so excited to share that with everyone on this podcast. So a little bit more about me. I guess I'll start with my credentials. I really like my credentials because I have a short name, Katie Dodd, and I had this really strange goal where I wanted to have more letters after my name than in my name. So I was chasing that goal and I did meet it. I have my Master's of Science in Community Nutrition from Southern Illinois University, Carbondale. I, of course, am a registered dietitian nutritionist. I'm a licensed dietitian in the state of Oregon. I have the CSG. I'm a board-certified specialist in gerontological nutrition. And I have the FAND credential, which is the Fellow of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. So I told you a little bit about my job, about my volunteer work. Currently, I am the past chair of the Healthy Aging Dietetic Practice Group and the very first ever sponsorship chair for the Oregon Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. And I'm also on the Commission on Dietetic Registrations CSG Exam Development Board. So what that means is that I have the opportunity to help write the exam for the CSG. So I do a lot of volunteering, but again, it's where my heart is. I really love it. I have a family. I am the mom of two kiddos. I have an 8-year-old named Gavin, and he is going to be 9 years old at the end of November this month that I'm recording this webinar, and it just blows my mind. I don't understand what happened to where I have a 9-year-old. And then I have a 4-year-old daughter named Emily. So I think one thing is I do have a full-time job. I have a lot of side gigs. I volunteer a lot. I have a family. I do CrossFit 3 days a week at 5 a.m. I'm a runner. I go to church. There's all kinds of things that I do in my life. And I think some people ask me sometimes, like, how do you do it all? And how I do it all is that I'm doing stuff I love. And when it's stuff you love, it's easy to do. And I also don't watch TV. So there you go. Okay, so why did I start this podcast? Well, I'm not sure if anyone's familiar with Rachel Hollis. She wrote the book, Girl, Wash Your Face. I read that book, a year ago, and her new one too. They're both good. But my husband bought me this journal. It's the Start Today journal by Rachel Hollis. At the front of it says, hustle. And inside this journal, she has where you write 5 things you're grateful for every day, which is easy for me. I do practice gratitude. That's something I do on a regular basis. But the next thing you do is she has you write 10 goals that you made happen. And so they're goals that haven't happened yet, but you write them in a way as if they have. So it's kind of a empowering way of doing something. If you're writing every single day that you've done something, it's, kind of points you in that direction of, okay, it's going to be done. So in my Start Today journal, I have been writing every day for the last, I say every day, but let's be honest, some days I do miss a day or two, but almost every day in my Start Today journal, I have been writing, I have a podcast. So I'm so excited. I really now have a podcast. And I'm going to share a little bit more about my journey and my story in future episodes of kind of why I am where I am and how I got here. But I started, I guess I'll share a little bit now. I started this spring. I went to the Oregon Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics and Washington Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics annual conference. And at that conference, I listened to 3 phenomenal nutrition entrepreneurs and realized, wow, number 1, I am a nutrition entrepreneur. Number 2, nutrition entrepreneurship is not just face-to-face patient care. That's what I always thought. If I want to be in private practice or be an entrepreneur, I have to see patients face-to-face. And I learned that no, that's not the case. And I just became so inspired that I started kind of building up this plan and dreaming the base of my business, calling it Katie Dodd Nutrition. And because I'm a dietitian and very type A, I wrote a business plan. I wrote my 1-year plan, my 2-year plan, my 5-year plan, my 10-year plan. I mean, I was like serious about this. So I have different levels to what I'm doing. I am currently doing freelance writing. I'm doing webinars. I am doing some contract work, starting to kind of get my toes wet working with brands. I have started a blog. I started it in June of 2019, so this year. The blog is called The Geriatric Dietitian, and that has been so much fun, and I've had so many opportunities already come out of that blog. But when I started this plan, I had everything written out that I wanted to do. So all of those things, the geriatric dietitian and then the dietitian side hustle. So I knew that the dietitian side hustle is something that I wanted to do. I wanted to take everything that I've learned, everything that I'm doing, the journey I've been on, the journey that I'm on now, and just share that information. A little bit more about me. One of my favorite things to do with my work is to precept dietetic interns and to mentor students and dietitians. It's literally my most favorite thing to do. When they learn something new they're excited about, when they have success, when they're inspired, when they realize I can do anything in this career, that's what drives me. That's what makes me happy. So this podcast is a way that hopefully I can inspire more people and also help impact our profession as dietitians to where we could see that there are so many opportunities for dietitians, and also to encourage you and to help you realize dietitians can and do make more money than what maybe the perception is among most dietitians. I think most dietitians would say that dietitians are underpaid, and I would say yes, there's truth to that, but there are things that we can do on an individual basis to make more money, and we will be talking about that within this podcast in different episodes because I'm very passionate about money. So I am hoping that there are students listening. I'm hoping you students are dreaming of becoming a registered dietitian one day and that you put your eyes on that goal and don't lose sight of it. I hope that there are dietetic interns listening who are, bless your hearts, you are in the middle of your internship. It is a tough time, but you are doing the work and you are dreaming about what is my career going to look like. I hope you're listening. I hope there are new dietitians listening, just getting started. I hope there are dietitians listening who work in a job maybe they don't like. Maybe you're working in a job you do like. Maybe you're getting close to retirement. Maybe you are retired. Maybe you do have a side hustle. Maybe you don't. Hopefully you want one. But in this podcast, I'm going to share, a lot of information. I think I've already written down 50 episode ideas. So I've got a lot of stuff bouncing around in my head that I can't wait to share with you all. So these episodes are meant to be short. My goal is to keep them 15 minutes or less, so something that you can listen to on a drive to the store. Depending on how far work is, maybe a drive to work, maybe a walk during your lunch break. I want to make these easy to consume episodes, and I also want to have action items. So at the end of every episode, my goal is to have lots of information for you, hopefully some inspiration for you, and then action items where you actually leave the podcast like, okay, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. And that's my goal. So what to expect? Expect imperfection. I have made a commitment to myself that in recording this podcast, I'm only doing one take. If I mess up, if I say, if I forget completely what I'm talking about, like right now, or if I jumble up my words, which I totally do, I'm not going to re-record. I am not going to spend hours editing this podcast because I think most of you listening, all of you type A personalities can realize it could probably take me 5 hours to publish a 15-minute podcast if I get too crazy with doing second takes, third takes, all these edits. So I'm just making this commitment to be imperfect. And I think one thing that I've learned on my journey, you don't have to be perfect, but you have to get started. So that's what I'm doing today. I'm getting started on my journey. I write every day. I have a podcast. I have a heart for inspiring, educating, mentoring, coaching students and dietitians. And I'm just so excited for this opportunity. And again, we have a whole lot of information coming to you. There's going to be a lot on professional development, a lot on how to start and or perfect the side hustle of your dream. Some of the ideas that I already have written down, I'm just going to maybe go through a couple of them. That might be helpful. I want to talk about volunteering. I want to talk about networking, about dietitian pay, branding, niching. I'm never sure. I say both. We'll see how I roll when I actually get to that podcast. I want to talk about social media, writing, speaking, webinars, whether what you should do should be paid versus free. I want to talk about brands, selling, products, coaching, working with patients one-on-one, work-life balance. That's a biggie and something I can attest to as a mom and a wife. I want to talk about negotiating jobs. I want to speak specifically to interns and to students. I want to have podcasts dedicated specifically to you. And I really want to share things that I wish I knew sooner. I want to talk about getting started, perfectionism, innovative opportunities for dietitians. Oh my goodness, in the past 6 months, I have learned about so many opportunities for the dietitians to make money and to make lots of money. It's crazy and it's really cool, and I'm excited to share that. I want to talk about building an audience, different platforms for doing freelance writing. There's just so much I have on this list. I'm not even going to read all of them, but there are just so many things I can't wait to share with you all. So thank you for listening and tuning in for my first episode of the Dietitian Side Hustle. Your action items for today, since this episode was mostly me just babbling and trying to tell you a little bit about me. But your action item for today, please subscribe to this podcast and follow me on social. You can find me on Instagram at Dietitian Side Hustle, and I have a Facebook group. So it's a community under my Katie Dodd Nutrition Facebook page, but you can search for Dietitian Side Hustle in groups and find me there. And the group is a great place because not only can you see anything I post, but you can also post questions you have, post information you have, ask other side hustlers any questions that you have or what's everyone else doing, because I am just one person. You know, I'm sure a lot of you are doing really cool things too. And hopefully at some point I'll get to interviewing people. As of right now, the plan is I'm just going to talk. But in the future, I actually already have a list of about 10 people I'm going to hit up later to interview. So anyways, thanks so much for listening, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.